change anything, with my understanding.
And I set it out to burn, but it's sitting on my stove.
And I actually looked online, because you can look that up online, and I couldn't figure out. Do you remember when it was?
No, but I could be there and back in 10 minutes
No,
to go pick that
that's-
thing up. I
that'd
wonder
be-
if you could find it.
It's been a month or so, I'd say. It wasn't
Yes,
like,
it wasn't that long ago.
no.
I'm going to look up the Emmitsburg Chronicle and see if we can actually. Because I remember thinking, oh, why didn't.
But there were two issues with that. One is whether we would have one, but the other thing is the tax implications. And that, I think we're in agreement with Supervisor, that's a county issue. But whether you allow people to do it is different. And I don't know that the county regulates, like if you have an Airbnb, are there certain building code standards you gotta meet, or things like this?
Well, and I was reading what was sent out, that presumably is what they want us to approve, is this piece here, that Wendy sent?
Oh, that has to do with accessories.
Right, okay, you're
Yeah.
moving on, so what are you moving on to?
No, I'm talking about Airbnb.
Okay.
That's different than
Yes,
accessory
yes.
apartment.
But it's short-term rentals, is that what they
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah, short-term rental.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, because one wants to leave as much freedom for people to do what they want on their property, however, it could be so easily taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear these horror stories of people having sort of 20 people next door having loud parties and parking up and down the track. But yes, and in Europe they're just banning it. They're banning it because they're so anti all the tourism. I think Barcelona has banned all short-term rentals for 3 years or something because they're so sick and tired of it.
Well, yeah, some of these little towns, during the summer, it's like the population dramatic, it increases by multiple, like tenfold or something.
Right, and people buying up properties just because they can make more money doing that than doing the alternative.
Hello.
How do you,
Hello.
I get that.
Oh, well, yes, you're over there. I'm just sitting where I was told, more or less.
Hi, how are you?
I don't, we haven't done any waiting. I know Ken's not gonna be here.
Right, he's not, no, but get my stuff out. I'm trying to get more done. Friend just before I came. That her father passed away. Oh, at least answer it, you know, yeah, so.
Oh, maybe you've got the copy of the Emmitsburg Chronicle we were looking for.
Where it was like, why are you even talking about
Yeah.
short-term
Oh,
rentals?
look, she's got it. She's so efficient. Mine was sitting on the stove and I hadn't brought it in.
Well, I was trying to get more glasses. I'm so thankful for a little bit of rain. You all see me? See who I am? Just grab my
issue.
Well, but
Because we weren't asking for additional time to deal with Airbnbs.
I have other things with these recommendations that I think are more important. But we'll turn on the minutes, so
But anyway,
get started.
so after our last workshop, well, first of all, I guess we gotta formally do that.
Right, you call it to order.
We're in order,
Check.
the clock's off by 1 minute, so,
My thing says it's 7:30.
yeah, that's what it said.
Rich,
I'm here.
Luther,
Here,
Barb here, no Ken, Beatrice.
Yes.
And Dom.
Yes.
Okay, so minutes of last meeting. I looked them over, I didn't have any comments, anybody else? I don't know what it is.
Judy Hogan is not the alternate anymore, is she? Or is she?
Well, at that time, she was, but now she's not.
Now she's not. Okay.
Right. So you wouldn't list her as not present, because
Correct.
I don't know that
Did they
they,
appoint an alternate for us?
I think they had an ad out for an alternate,
Okay, but we don't have one.
but,
Cool.
my personal opinion is we've never used the alternate in the whole time I've been part of this. And I've started as an alternate, so
Yeah.
I don't know we really need. I think that there was a time they had trouble getting quorums, so that's why they wanted to have an alternate.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sorry, my document is like being really strange. There we go.
so anything with the minutes? If there's no changes, if somebody wants to move to approve them.
I mean, we approved the minutes as, written.
Do we have a second? Oh, no, I asked that.
So
Huh?
we,
You asked that. Did anyone second that? Or?
I haven't heard a
I
second.
seconded.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So my chair's not talking today, so it doesn't have any comments. And there's no public here that I see. So, the old business, the Southwest Joint Comprehensive Plan, Wendy's periodically been talking with Rock Taylor County about where that's going. And for right now, it's still not going anywhere that I know of, from feedback from Wendy. So our main business today is to pick up where we left off with the accessory apartment amendment for the ordinance. Wendy wanted to get involved with that, so she would like us to basically pull together all her thoughts, and then she'll type up a draft. But we feel like it's good. She's gonna work with Bob Taylor to help refine it and then send it out to supervisors.
We're talking about the accessory, is that to what
Accessory
we
dwelling units that we made.
Accessory development.
Yes.
And they done. So I thought Wendy had typed it up cleanly, all of our notes from the workshop that we were thinking of.
Yeah, and it's short. It does not have all of our comments.
Okay, so it wasn't ready for,
Well, she sent out what she did, so
okay.
I think what we need to do is
Okay,
go
I
back.
missed it in the
We
meeting
need to
doc.
go back and look at what we had notionally decided, where we were going with it, and then mark everything up and give her feedback.
Okay. I guess missing documents that she sent with that? Or no?
This is what we're talking about.
This is what she said.
Okay, sorry, somehow, how did I not see that?
And she sort of covers everything we talked about. It's
No,
just,
no,
I'm
that's-
trying to think what else we covered.
Ah, meeting handouts, thank you, okay. Like that.
So just glancing over it, like we had talked about maximum size for a accessory dwelling unit. And that's not listed here. We talked about sewage requirement, that's minimum,
Oh, maximum.
but there's a maximum. Like we talked about, it can't be any bigger than, we didn't have a specific number, but some percentage of the primary dwelling unit.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't print that out before.
Oh, that's right. We said 75%, I believe. Did we? No, something like that.
Yeah, that's what we were looking at before. Maximum living area shall be 1,500 square feet or 75% of the livable area of principal dwelling unit, whichever is less.
My notes say the minimum livable area, that what we had decided on was that we were gonna check the code, perhaps go down to 400 square feet, but I don't know if that was
That's the
decided.
minimum.
PA might have a minimum of 600 feet.
Yeah, what would she, as far as a minimum, she put, it would be, shall be 500 feet, or as permitted by the current uniform construction code. So if the code says it can be less than 500,
Okay, so we're covered, okay,
so that's the minimum.
okay.
The issue is the maximum is not addressed. And I don't know if that was on the notes that you gave her, or.
Yeah, that was on the note, it was check the code, what's the minimum? Okay,
So what was the maximum? Was it 75%? What did you decide?
1,500 square feet or 75%.
Of livable area of principal dwelling unit,
Okay.
that whichever is less. That's what I have in my notes.
So that needs to be added. So this was go down. The one part at the beginning, and I'm not sure where do you put that, but she's got to encourage compact residential clusters with direct visual and physical access to open space farms. I'm not quite sure what we do with that, because
I mean, is this something
It's
she
fine.
worked on with Rob Thaler, because I defer to.
does that make sense? Exactly what that's trying to say.
What was section 10?
Well, the section numbers, she just put X's there because it's to be determined. Because it's a question of how does it get incorporated into the rest of that. So don't count the X's as actual numbers.
It actually doesn't make sense in context of,
Yeah, I'm not quite,
in this context.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that came from.
I don't know where it came from.
I mean, you could recommend that they remove that.
What are we recommending removing?
She wrote this in here,
Oh, okay.
and we're sort of not sure where that came from.
I mean, it's a great idea, but
I mean, I don't say it's enforceable, it's not definitive.
It's not. I mean, you could put it as a letter, like it could be be A, but I agree with you, I don't know how that's enforceable.
The only thing I could see something like that is if you're trying to adopt new or changes, you might put that as part of the justification of why you would do it. But in and of itself, I don't see it as a item for being in the ordinance.
Okay. So the one thing we did note was missing was the maximum area, that has to go in.
So maximum,
And that was in,
we're
right?
gonna do what's the handout that we had, I don't remember.
The Berwick Township.
The maximum livable area of an ADU shall
Yeah.
be 1,500 square feet or 75%.
Right,
And that, so that, you're gonna make
Seems
I'll
like
make
she
a
just
note
missed
that we
it,
do need to
that's
add
Yeah.
that in, okay.
now, I know we talked about the height of the principal dwelling, or the height of the accessory. So we're agreed that it can't exceed the height of the principal dwelling unit. And I only bring that up in context as if we built an apartment on a two-story garage, but the house is a single story. New Hampshire. And I'm okay leaving that.
I think we decided to leave that in, the height shall not exceed the height,
Okay,
and it may be detached. I think those both sound like what we've all been talking about.
Mhm.
We talked about it may be detached, but not in the front yard, or it could be attached. I thought all those other things made a lot of sense.
so, and I'm looking at her beginning part of this, where the ADU is defined as a detached dwelling. So if it's attached, are we calling it an apartment?
It doesn't say it's
No, I'm saying it's on the
attached,
same lot of a detached dwelling
but it does not say that it has to be
unit. Right.
detached or attached.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cause then we get down to
yeah, because
the
I
one
don't
where we
really,
say if it is attached, you have to
Right.
have.
right,
Yeah. Cause that, I believe, was what we were all talking about, is that it could be detached or unattached,
Right.
but with these guidelines. And I think we had I think one space, parking space seems plenty.
Right above the one parking space, number 1, where it says an accessory dwelling unit may be attached dwelling unit in accordance with the following standards. Number 1, an internal means of connectivity between the accessory dwelling unit and the accessory dwelling unit shall be provided.
Oh, type.
I queried, I was
Yeah.
about to query that
Okay.
same
I was
thing.
gonna say,
So we mean the primary,
it should be principal
principal,
dwelling unit
principal,
and the accessory, yeah.
right.
And I'm looking at the one from Berwick, and I hope Rob caught it before Berwick put it in, because it says the same thing.
But going back to the connectivity, it says it shall be provided, but it makes it sound like that should be the, I mean, presumably there would be outside and internal access? It's slightly ambiguous, is it, or not really?
I mean, you can always pull, I mean, right, it says, accessory dwelling unit from the outside shall not be in the front of the building. So, it may be provided for side or rear. It could also be a joint doorway in the rear.
Yes, actually, the one before with the
Or side.
it was the one that I thought was slightly ambiguous. Internal means that connect between the accessory dwelling units shall be provided.
The first one should say.
Why does it have to be?
principal
Sorry, why
dwelling
does that have to be provided? I don't quite understand. There'd have to be access to it, but does it have to be an internal connectivity, or could there be an outside door?
There could be an outside door.
This isn't saying you use that means for connecting. In other words, you can have a door that connects the two that is kept locked.
But there has to be a door between the two.
That's basically what it's saying.
Do we agree with that?
Well, I'm just wondering whether there's some kind of fire safety issue there too. Or egress.
Well, maybe that needs to be listed. There has to be fire.
Well, I mean, this is being adopted from what Berwick had.
Right, which
So,
was
We
approved.
don't know what the rationale was.
Their rationale was they were hoping if they were going to use these, it would be primarily family members, but not necessarily. And requiring access means whoever's renting it out would be comfortable with the person that's being the renter, or vice versa. And it may stop some people from just putting in an apartment just to rent out an apartment to make money. I'm not saying I agree or disagree, just telling you what some of their rationale was.
Does fire egress need to be listed?
Not really, because that's gonna be taken over by code when they go to get their permits.
So we don't have to say anything about them having to get a permit,
Right.
cause I mean, that's, if you're
It's-
building
they're gonna
anything,
have to get
you have
it,
to get a
right.
permit.
And they're gonna have to, you know, once they say it's for an accessory dwelling unit or apartment, or whatever you wanna call it, we call it accessory dwelling unit.
Okay.
They're gonna have to meet everything for fire safety.
Okay.
Do we wanna just take that out?
That is your choice.
Do you see any reason it need to be?
There, I don't see any reason why it has to be there, but if you just want it there, that's fine.
I don't think it needs to be there, but it depends entirely on what facility we might have.
Necessary.
I mean, I almost think of it in a normal residential thing, if you had row homes, they're all attached. One could be an apartment, one could be that, but there's no access between them.
Door to door, right.
And in some sense, you could argue, what does connectivity mean? Does that mean?
Well, if it's not a fire safety thing, yeah, I don't see why it has to be there.
So they agree to get rid of it?
I agree.
Okay.
Keep things as.
Are we just getting rid of one, or are we getting rid of, the access only by the side or rear, number two?
Now, what they're saying in number 2 though is like if you have a home and you build an attached accessory dwelling unit, they don't, the code is saying don't make it from the front of your house. You have to have the entrance to that.
We leave that part, then,
So we would keep that. because then you're almost turning it into a
Duplex.
duplex, yeah.
And if you had like a farm with lots of land and they wanted to, and the garage happened to be in front of the house, they just had to file a demand.
Well, technically, the garage should not be in front of the house.
Technically, okay, well if there was say something, I'm thinking of some rural situation where it went off
I
the
know.
road. Yeah.
But there, I won't say that there aren't garages in front of houses around here, because I know there are.
But
But if you look at the ordinance says you can't have them in front of
I
you.
understand, I understand.
But you still wouldn't have the act, it says from the front of the building, I mean, even if you're a garage.
I know, you might have a hen house or in the front, I
Yeah,
have no idea
but
what
you
you
still
might
wouldn't
have
have it in
some.
the front, yeah.
But then you could make a request and come before and ask for an allowance or something. Okay, makes sense. So I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I think it's good.
So that took care of the stuff from the Berwick, but
Well,
what's missing is the other stuff.
the permit is by right in all zones except commercial, with the zoning officer ensuring meet all conditions. I had that note that we wanted to add about this.
Say that again.
From our workshops, when we were talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
This-
instead of going into, we'll record the decision with the zoning hearing board and all the following permitting things, we had thought that the simplest thing would be to add a statement in this saying permit by right, or these are permitted by right in all zones except commercial.
Well, that's what she says here,
Does she say
basically.
that?
It's permitted in the ag rural, the residential, and the residential office. The only thing you have left is your commercial and industrial.
Oh, so that takes care of this. Add the
Yeah.
following to the list of permitted accessory uses in all zoning districts.
And I'm sorry, and conservation, she has it there as well.
That it's, so is that typed in the right order? I don't understand why it's conservation and then permitted uses comes after it and then. Oh, I see, cause it's permitted in conservation
Right,
and in all of those others.
yes,
And it's just listed there.
yes.
Okay, so it is listed as a permitted use.
Yep.
Okay. There were two other things that we had noted. We had talked about how there was something in Berwick's that vehicular access to the ADU shall be limited to the same driveway that serves the principal residence. And that if other than public sewer and water is to be used, it shall submit evidence the total number of bedrooms together doesn't exceed the capacity. We had talked about adding those two things that were,
I'm not sure you need to say it.
so maybe we don't, either one, the vehicle and the sewer, is that all like?
Well, the vehicle is your decision, the vehicle is
Uh-huh.
your decision.
Okay,
I don't think you need to say it, cause that's the first thing, if they don't have public water and sewer, I mean, just any sewer in general, they have to go and make sure whether it's public to get, a connection, and if it's septic, on site, they have to come to the SEO and get approval.
so part of the normal permitting covers sewer, and then they cover how many
Yeah.
bedrooms, so we don't care, okay. But we,
Now, the vehicular access, this is saying you have to have the same driveway for both
right,
places.
right,
That's a design criteria. That's your decision if you wanna do it that way or not. Just keep in mind, you do have farms, so, meaning, the house could be here, maybe you wanna convert a barn that's a quarter mile away, it's still on your farm.
Mm.
You know, I mean, or you guys know what it's like to live on farms. You have
Right.
buildings out in places and stuff where do you really want to limit it to one driveway and someone's going, the road's right here.
And if they were to put in a driveway, would that automatically require a permit and then they'd be
They'll have to
subject
get a
to
driveway
permitting?
permit, they'll have to get a driveway permit.
And then that would say, make sure they had the line of sight and all the safety
Yep.
features.
And now they have to have the apron
Yeah.
certain size.
Right. And don't get me wrong, if you're adding onto your house, there's or it's literally right next door, like 20 feet away is your detached garage, they probably don't want to spend the money on a brand new driveway.
Right.
They'll probably just say, throw some stuff over here, we're good to go.
But I think that's a good point for the farm, that why do we care whether it's one driveway or two, as long as they have to get a permit and they're following all
Right.
environmental and safety rules that we have for that.
And that sort of takes care of sort of extra parking too. I mean, yes.
Well,
In a way,
the
is
parking you should have in there, but
obviously,
but yeah, you have to get a driveway, if they have to build a new driveway, they're gonna have to get a driveway permit, you have a driveway ordinance, it tells everything you gotta do, whether it's the apron, put in a culvert, site distances, et cetera.
Okay.
I would just hate to see all of a sudden, like I said, and I'm just thinking about the farm, I'm not thinking about
No, that makes sense.
the small 1 acre lot where they have to put a driveway that's 2,000 feet long because they wanted to fix that building on the other side.
Yeah.
so you're just saying if they want to put in a second driveway, they can.
As long as it meets the ordinance, yes.
Yes. I agree. Unlikely, but it's, you never know.
So, but I'm not sure, we had a discussion about occupancy permits. And I don't know where these things come from, but,
Those came, again, Berwick limited it to family members. And that's why all that came in, the ADUs and renewing your permit every year, so they can make sure, they wanna sort of make sure it's limited to just family members. If you're not limiting to family members, then why are we doing inspections every year? They get the permit the first time and we all know that they're renting it, so what's the big deal?
I think we had decided that if they rent it, then that goes under any rental permitting that we require.
well, that gets into that article, and is that what the supervisor talking about, that's a county issue? Because then they're paying taxes.
Well, it would depend whether it's long-term or short-term rentals. I mean, I don't know, does our
This would be-
does our
this-
township require any kind of permits for any kind of rentals?
I don't know. This would be deemed like a long-term rental, not a short-term
Right.
rental. I don't know. I would think all municipalities have a pillow tax that they probably wanna get.
Yeah.
But that'd be short-term rental. But your taxes will go up naturally once you put in an apartment or an accessory dwelling unit, cause now you're doubling your, I don't wanna say your occupancy, but you're putting 2 dwelling units on one property, so your taxes are just gonna naturally go up.
Does the code require, if you have an at-home business, are you required to get a permit for that?
I believe so.
Not a,
Because,
certain ones, not
Certain
ones,
ones.
ones that don't have traffic and clients
Right,
coming
like
in
a
and out,
no impact home-based business, no.
Yeah,
But if you have
like a,
a home-based
Daycare,
business, right,
dentist
my,
daycare or
the question
something
would be
like that,
is
yes.
if you got accessory dwelling unit, you're running, renting it. Is that a no impact business or not? It's a business.
Yeah, but
Because
they don't deem that as a business. Now, what I thought you were gonna say, and I was gonna say it wouldn't hurt if you wanted to add it, is you can't do a home-based business out of an accessory dwelling unit.
We discussed that, didn't we?
Did we?
I think so.
But why not? I mean,
Well, I don't know, I'm just saying, if that's what you wanna do, I don't care. I mean,
Well,
either you could, I would think all the regulations that apply to whether home-based businesses are allowed or not,
yeah, it's
that
gonna apply.
applies.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter which building on your property you put it in, as long as you're adhering to whatever's required about home-based businesses.
That's fair.
Yes, and one likes to encourage small businesses.
oh yeah,
So,
I mean, part of that, thinking that your home-based business was doing some kind of repair shop and have a garage, and that's what you're doing it out of, versus an apartment, which you could use for doing that too. Like you're repairing computers and something built as an apartment, versus fixing lawnmowers or cars or whatever.
Not cars. That turns into a different scenario.
Yeah. I think all of that would be covered under, like, what types
Yes.
of uses
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's,
businesses
what
and all
it's
that.
basically getting at, are we already covered under the home-based business?
You are. You are.
But going back to your question about rentals, I mean, if I want to rent an apartment, I don't know if the township requires a permit or if that's all a county thing. I understand from this article that it's a county thing if you wanna have an Airbnb, but I don't know what the permitting is. If I wanna, leave and rent my house for a year, do I have to get a permit from the township? I don't think I do.
They won't require a permit because it's just gonna be a permitted use by right.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not gonna be requiring a permit. What's gonna happen is they have to get a permit through the county. County's gonna see you're putting a second dwelling unit on, and they're gonna tax you accordingly, which will then filter down to the township. The tax money, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because then taxes are just gonna go up, because you have an accessory dwelling unit. So that's how they're gonna get their additional tax money.
But we don't have to say anything in this about
So,
rentals.
so
and
it's
permits.
section L that we looked at last time. We don't
Right.
need any of that.
Probably not, unless you wanna be I don't wanna say very big brotherish, but I mean, that's renewing your permits every year, they wanna follow who's doing what and this and that. And again, that came from an ordinance where it was only allowed to be rented or utilized by family members,
So that's what they were checking.
for the most part. And it was also limited on how many people can occupy it, which they limited it to 2.
Oh, and this all falls, we wouldn't want any of L in there, I think, because that all falls under, like, if the township's gonna require inspections, that means the township has to go inspect them, and they're not
Yes.
gonna do that, and they don't wanna do that,
Who would do it?
so, right, who would,
Your zoning officer, so it'll be in your zoning ordinance.
right, and then we'd have to pay the
Hey,
zoning
you would-
officer to do
But,
that,
but
so I
you
don't,
would have to put a fee on the inspection
right,
to
but
cover the cost of the zoning officer.
There's no rental license or anything on a single family home, so why should it be on
right,
the ADU?
yeah, so I don't think we need anything there, keep it simple, then,
That's fair.
okay.
Now, I know you said about sewage that's already covered, but would it hurt to actually have like this connection?
If you wanna
in
put it in
there.
there, no. It's not
Because
good.
I think
What do you wanna put in?
just the last sentence of M, it just says that
Any
in connection to existing individual on-light sewer shall be subject to review. so people know. I mean, it's in there, but if somebody's looking at this ordinance, trying to figure out what I need to do, they may overlook that.
That's fair.
And I think,
Cause they will, they'll just
yeah,
tie it all in if it's not already tied in.
right.
Okay.
So I would add that,
And we have a sewage enforcement officer,
yes.
right, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
me.
gonna add that last sentence of, okay. Yeah, I guess we do, that's,
So you capturing all these on there?
I am,
Okay.
so.
I'll let you go.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thought it was a silent police call.
I hate that. You turn off the ringer and it buzzes and
Yeah,
it buzzes
it
still.
buzzes.
I still haven't figured out how to like make it not do nothing.
Turn it off.
Okay, there is that, right. Well, what if, are we feeling pretty good about this?
I think so.
I make a motion that we recommend to the supervisors that we recommend the supervisors amend the zoning ordinance just, per this proposed accessory dwelling unit amendment with the following revisions. That we're deleting encourage compact residential clusters. We are adding that maximum livable area of 1,500 square feet or 75%. We delete having an internal means of connectivity, and we add that last sentence about any connection to or addition to existing sewer must be run by the sponsor. And I'll write that up pretty.
And what's the business of two driveways necessary to be put in, the possibility that that's allowable if they wish? I'm not quite
We
sure how that
just
fits in.
removed the one that said,
We
you
just
have
removed
to
it
have
saying you
one-
have to,
it has-
that's fine,
it has to be
yeah,
on
okay,
one
I'm
driveway.
going backwards, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and that was not in what she
No, it was
just
not
said.
in here.
Okay, so that was not in here. So it's right, that we approve this rough draft proposed amendment that Wendy sent around to kind of recapture our
Yeah.
thoughts, but with just those 4 changes I mentioned.
The only part I'm not sure about is, does Wendy wanna take this and go to Rob Taylor first, or do we go to the supervisors? And then if they say okay, then Wendy works with Rob to,
well,
that's,
How should that work?
when you do an amendment, it has to go to county regardless.
Okay,
So Rob's gonna get it regardless. What Wendy's gonna do, I don't know. She may go to Rob and say, hey, this is what they wanna do, and he might go, yeah, that's fine.
well, what she's expecting him to do is take a look at this on our ordinance and partly figure out where does it plug in.
Which I think we've already sort of done that. I mean, unless she wants to reword everything. The only thing that might create an issue is you do have accessory apartments.
Yeah, well, and those are the kind of things you look at.
And maybe you pull out accessory apartments, because this will supersede, i.e., not just supersede, but replace accessory apartments and
And
now.
that's the kind of thing I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
and she might send that to Rob first, or,
so that would be covered under remove any conflicting definitions from current ordinance.
I think so, and I think
Or-
that's probably what she was hinting at.
Or should we be specific and say remove remove accessory dwelling apartments
I think-
and
No,
any
no, I don't think we don't need to do
we
that.
don't need because okay.
Because if she goes to
She-
Rob, if she
He's
goes to
gonna make
Rob
it right.
first, right, if she goes to Rob, it has to come back to you guys again, because now it's been changed, if he changes anything.
Right.
if she says, Rob already saw this and this phrase I put here, remove conflicting definitions, will remove the accessory apartments and make it something else, you know, then it doesn't necessarily have to come back to you, the board will then proceed with it.
We can go ahead and recommend, if I get a second. And if Wendy decides, advises us that we need to go through this extra step, we can step back.
I mean, we could always say, we recommend, this proposed amendment with these 4 changes noted above, and then review, you know, with any other changes needed by county. Or is that like, just
County
to
has to
like
get
county
it
has to
regardless.
approve
We
it.
can say, just
Okay.
call it a draft ordinance change,
Like with the proposed draft accessory dwelling unit
because that implies it has to
ordinance
be
change, the
cleaned up.
proposed ADU draft zoning ordinance amendment, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my motion.
That's
To
it.
be second, you want somebody like me to say second it?
Somebody.
Oh, if you do, I mean, you could all
Are
say,
you second?
I second.
I would say, you could all say it stinks.
Oh,
We got a second. We got a second over here.
Okay, Luther seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Look at us and our bad selves, we did one of these things.
So, one, I think we need clarification on what the supervisors meant by because that was dealing more with short-term rentals. And they originally asked us to look at that. And now they're saying, we don't see any reason we need to do that.
I don't know. I'm not gonna, I didn't read the article, I'm not sure. All I know is, by law, it's just the way Pennsylvania is, every municipality has to account for every use possible, somewhere in your township.
Right,
And then what you have in your ordinance is the catch-all, and I forget what your ordinance says. If someone wants a use that's not listed in the ordinance, you either usually go to the zoning hearing board or you go to a conditional use hearing in front of the board of supervisors. So it's probably not a high priority, the short-term rental, I guess, I don't know.
it sounds like from
And the
your.
reality is, most of the ordinances that do have something about short-term rentals, you put them in almost everywhere, you have these ADUs, because that's, you already have the residential structure, and it's usually about like 5 or 6 criteria, which is like, make sure you get a permit, you know, make sure it's, and you know, you just have some small
With
limitations.
one of these other documents that we had covered that, the key element.
I thought I gave you some in the past, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, I'm looking at what they said, and honestly, we didn't bring it up, it was in that memo you found, Rich, from April, where they said, the supervisors want us to look
Yes,
at ADUs, short-term rentals, I mean, if they don't want us to look and they don't care, and we don't permit for them, what do we?
Well, this is, I guess, what we need
Yeah, 'cause there's a bunch of different ones. You have the homestay, you have tent housing, which is a short-term rental, but it's a different style of short-term rental. And then I forget what the other ones are. I mean, just at least what they call them.
tent,
Vacation.
RV hosting and vacation rental.
Right. So the homestay is an Airbnb, but you actually are there and you're just letting someone come in and use your room. The vacation rental is you're not there and someone comes in and uses your house. And then the tent camping is RVs, and what they basically do is the farmer says, yeah, you could go out there and park your RV and tent overnight and then see you later next day. Because places like Walmart and all who used to let these RVs stand around overnight have said no, and renting it off Barb on her farm for the night is a lot cheaper than going to the RV campsite that may or may not have space, and, you know, usually it'd be cheaper. Now, I know there's some things online where there's sites that do it, and they say actually you should do it for free, but the tent hosts or whatever typically sells goods, and you should spend between $50 and $80 a night on their goods. It's sort of like, it almost sounds a little shady.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, no, these are big things on apps and all where you sign up for them and all, and it's sort of like a way where you're not paying your taxes,
Well,
like,
it's
you know.
Border.
Right.
Like a
Right.
suggested contribution
Yeah,
is a common one.
yes. And that's where some townships are going, this is, no, yeah, they wanna either stop it or make some regulations on it. Cause you know, it gets tricky. Are you know, what are you? Are you a farm, or are you just a person who has a lot of land? It doesn't have to be a farm, but out here it's usually farms. And you constantly have RVs coming in and out, but they're only staying overnight, and then they're gone. Or maybe it's not even an RV, it could literally be me and my car, but I want a place to camp out overnight and pop up my tent and get out of here. And that's the distinction between tent housing and RV housing.
Limiting to one.
Yeah, and then it becomes, well, how many people, you know, does that mean on reenactment on July 4th weekend here in Gettysburg, there's gonna be 100 of these out there? Or is it most of the times you limit it to 1 or 2 per night and that's it, where it's like, okay, one or, you know, it's where the Airbnb of RV and camping.
Well, I'm thinking like a homestay, suppose you did build an accessory dwelling unit, but you only rented it, and it was attached to the house. If you rented it as more quote homestay, then this doesn't really apply. Cause if it's set up as an apartment, you probably have a kitchen and everything in there.
Probably.
And then when you had it permitted, the sewage and all that.
It was
would
probably,
be
it'd
addressed.
be as an accessory dwelling,
Yeah.
most likely.
So if you're renting that even short term,
Yeah.
then it's a separate thing. I'm just looking at the homestay, and that was one issue that we talked about a bit, was making sure that they don't do cooking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think you give this to Wendy and you wait for, I mean, unless I'm wrong, I'm not hearing nothing on my end about what the next thing you just wanna look at changing. I don't know if you've heard anything.
No, I'm just thinking we had talked about this, that was what we, I
Yeah.
guess I need to get clarification, write a letter back, responding to the letter and say what the heck you want us to do.
Right, because that was one question I had. I mean, it seemed very piecemeal from the beginning, like, just look at these. Why? What are some issues? You know, what are you worried about, so that we can
Yeah.
see what needs to be addressed. One thing that I would like to look at, we had talked about, let's see, we had all the short-term rentals, but under that there was the, I wasn't worried about the event venues, the, data storage facilities, and solar. I don't know if you wanna do it now or think about it, but
Well, that was on the list with the short-term rentals. That was on the list, they give us
Right,
to work
the
out with
sol-
the short-term
the
rentals.
solar was in the materials for short-term rentals.
Yes.
So we were not specifically requested by the commissioners, the supervisors to look, but I saw something again in the August, Emmitsburg Dispatch from the county about solar, where the county was cutting the ribbon for a solar panel install on the human services roof. Solar in Adams County is very divisive. It is the county board's position there are appropriate locations for solar panels that don't impact our agricultural lands. By using industrial roofs, brownfields, and terrain not suitable for agriculture, productive farmland is not impacted. And so I wondered if we should consider adding something to the solar panel energy uses about that. I remember, Don, you had said, look around and see if you're doing solar, what do you like or not like? And I'd also talked to my brother-in-law down in Virginia, the northern neck of Virginia, where they're just putting these huge solar panels and they are messing up the wildlife patterns, and they're ugly from the road, and on and on. There's a lot of environmental impacts they haven't thought of. So I
I'd
don't
have to
know.
go back and read it, but when we put our solar ordinance together,
Mm-hmm.
which I worked with Rob Taylor on that, we put in requirements for screening
Right.
on the road. I think we put in wildlife corridors, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know I thought about it, and that might have been like a next step. But I do think we need to review our solar ordinance to see if there's things like that are missing. But I think we have a pretty good ordinance right now.
We do. Those were just as it came up. A couple things that I wondered about, making sure that we've all looked at it and it is protecting wildlife. And do we want to limit where it can be, or how much of
Or how
certain
big it
property?
depends
Yeah,
on
how big it can be. Yeah.
You could look at it if you. I don't get that newspaper. I get Gettysburg's newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of solar fields that are been proposed and are going up nearby. Butler Township. You saw people were not happy about that one. Franklin Township. And Franklin Township is in the process of updating their solar section of the zoning ordinance. They originally had it in ag, and they're gonna pull it out of ag and just keep it in the industrial zone. They did approve, or in the process of approving 2 or 3 solar fields. And one thing I'll say about Franklin is, because I'm at the meetings,
Mm-hmm.
that is a split 50-50. Because the one person who put it up, no one cared anything about it, because it's out in the middle of nowhere and you can't see it. And the only people that can see it are like the whole family. It's like, brother lives here, sister lives it. Nobody cares. No one barked at it. Nobody. Nothing. You'll never see it. People don't even know it's there. When the farmer did it, that's where the division went, 50-50. And I'm talking some of the farmers and some of the people are saying this is terrible. You're cutting down these farm fields. And then yet 50% of the other farmers were saying this is great because it could save our farm, because the costs are going through the roof.
Right.
And it's not as divisive as what you think, like people screaming and all the farmers are saying no, 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 and all the city folks are saying no.
There's 2 sides.
Even the farmers are saying, and the one that's going in Franklin, that's in the process, it's not in yet, we haven't, it's just getting through the zoning hearing board process, it's very infantile. Again, you had a bunch of farmers that went, this is terrible, a bunch of people I should say, but you also had a bunch of farmers that are going, how much you getting?
Right.
What are you putting it in for? That can save my farm. Okay, I give up 30 acres of land for these, but I'm keeping the other 400 or 500 acres where I can keep growing my apples and peaches, et cetera, et cetera. So the divisiveness isn't necessarily like city folks, farmers. It's within farmers as too.
Right.
Yet alone within the city, you know. But I say city folks, you don't have city out here, you know.
And I think another thing people don't realize, you can put solar on a piece of land and also do farming on the same piece.
Absolutely.
They're increasingly doing tests on what happens with animals,
Mm-hmm.
and the results are surprising. I was reading an article just the other day because they weren't sure whether it would affect, like if you have sheep. In Britain you have a lot of sheep amongst them, or other animals grazing, and the long-term effects of the health of the animals people didn't know, but it doesn't seem to be bad. In fact, I read a study recently where the animals all did really, really well, so.
The one piece that I missed with ours that should be looked at, and I don't know the technology, but apparently the inverters make a lot of
Yes.
a noisy hum.
You have the,
And
you have
that-
the glare and the noise, and that's another thing that we did in Franklin that I worked on with, is we added, even though, and even the whatchamacallit, the solar people were like, you know, we've done a bunch of these, and you guys, they were talking about Franklin, you guys already have a pretty good ordinance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But we even made it quote unquote better, I guess, because we didn't require a noise study. And we put noise study stuff in and glare study. Now when the people came in with their thing, they already did it. And they said, hey, that's what we're gonna do. So they know what the questions are gonna be. They know what people are gonna be mad about. So they already did it, and then we went, well, if they do it, everybody else is gonna do it. And so we made theirs stronger. But again, when I said it was 50-50, I guess the truth is it was 55-45 because they are proposing, even though it's not there yet, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but they are proposing to pull it out of back and just keep it in industrial zone. Now they're gonna have, I think, 3 of them in the end, you know, and it's funny because Strabane did the same thing. They got like 3 or 4 of them, then they pulled it all out and made more. So it's almost like these townships are saying, well, we'll give you a couple, and then we're and then
Well,
we're gonna
that's
shove you into the
yeah.
industrial zone.
Like maybe it's just limit the size of them, or you can only do part of it.
And you could, what Highland Township did, what we did in Highland Township is it's in the ag, it's in the open space or conservation, I forget what the other one is, but we made it a 100-acre minimum of land. And then I think what we said was you're only allowed to put panels on 20 or 25% of that land. And when we did the view, there's only like 8 or 9 parcels of land in Highland Township that has 100 acres.
I was going to say, how many big farms are in Liberty?
There's a handful of them, but that's something county could do for you pretty easily. I could do it for you, but I don't think you want to pay. Because I'd sit there and go to GIS and pull up every parcel.
The one thing I suspect,
County will do
I don't know that, but typically when they put in solar farms, they want to be close to a spot on the grid
Yep.
where they can feed power.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
don't have that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's-
think we have any substations or whatever that they could put a large system in.
That's what you're right. They
That's
want
a
the
good point.
close point to certain.
They don't want to have to upgrade
Yeah.
a bunch of the
No.
distribution.
Now, what I found out over a lot of these discussions is you have sort of 3 things when it comes to electricity. You have your home, which most of them limit at about 15 kilowatts, between 10 and 15, which will service your home. And that's just a tiny little upgrade that usually homeowners have to do at their place, okay? Then you have, and I forget the name of it, for lack of a better word, like the local grid, where they could hook in, but it only sort of covers this little area. They don't mind those, but it's not as quote unquote valuable. They want what Rich is talking about, the big grid, the big power lines where once it gets that grid and everybody goes, oh, you're just sending it to Philadelphia. Maybe we are. It's just, that gets onto the big grid. No one ever says this sun power here is going to Philadelphia. I mean, everybody says it, but we don't. It's not necessarily true.
It's
But
like
it goes to the big grid that covers
the power gets,
all of it.
power's gonna go to the near source, or near where the demand is. But Philadelphia financially will get credit for it. But,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's like,
everywhere.
it's the power that's generated here doesn't really reach there.
Yeah.
But it's more of just the financial.
But it gets onto,
Yeah.
yeah, they want the big grid. And believe me, again, talking to these people that put these systems in, these farms and all, you would probably already know if someone's sniffing around here, because it takes them between 4 and 5 years of studying certain things if it's a viable opportunity to put the solar farm in here. So usually, unless that farmer or landowner is really tight-lipped and their family's really tight-lipped, the word gets out before they show up. Now the thing is, by the time they sign the contracts and actually get the money or start that, it may only be 6 months before they're in here. But I mean, I knew about a couple of them from, well, I heard this 2 years ago, and it was true, obviously, but you can't walk around and go, no, I heard that someone over there is going to do, because that's what you hear. Well, I heard there's a farm over there.
So, just to kind of wrap this, what I was thinking of is formally requesting the supervisors to give us guidance on what other things we need. So one would be to update the solar ordinance, review and update it.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Can we just,
So,
in our role of planning, say, hey, we'd like to look at the
Yeah,
the
that-
solar
and
and
that's
discuss it
exactly
and
what
bring
I wanna do.
recommendations?
so, and you mentioned at one point the, cannabis, I think is being
Yeah, I would say if you really want to make sure, I mean, if you want to, yeah, but cannabis this is probably low on your list.
okay.
I think you're probably your highest priority, because you have nothing on it, is your data centers.
Yeah.
I was just,
Yes.
that was the last thing
Now,
I
again,
wanted to bring, is
I
I
don't
really
think-
think we should do something.
I don't think you're a prime location for one.
But,
But you see the news articles, you see that Pennsylvania's gonna be pumping money into it, and you see somebody say you have nothing. That might be your number one priority. At least some of the other stuff you have something.
that's a good point.
But
Well,
again,
and the other thing with data centers, unless they couple that with power generation locally, you get the same issue with solar. It's, you gotta have a grid that's gonna support
yes.
the facility. But
But we wanna be
But
proactive.
we'll be
so that
proactive,
every-
so-
Definitely on that
we'll
one.
do,
Because I just heard an article about that somewhere this past week about them coming, and that was the last thing I wanted to bring here, is that I really
I think you're.
think we should add something in
Yeah.
it about it. And
What Rich is saying, I think, is very, very true. Is you're sort of protected because you don't have the big grid nearby, but these things generate a lot of money.
Mhm.
So they would, if they can get the area, they'll put the investment into improving your grid. Let's just say,
Right.
and you'd be surprised. I've had phone calls about it in some of my other townships very similar to this, where I'm like, where are you gonna put this? Like, we don't have it. And they're like, well, they're gonna upgrade up over here. They wanna know if we can put it in there. And I'm like, wow, okay. I'm like, well, as of right now you could, and then that township changed their ordinance. Well, actually, not yet, but in the next 2 months, and I'm not saying nothing, so I don't even want it to get out.
Do we have to have it as a use? Like
Yes,
if
yes.
someone requested it and it's not in here,
If
they
someone
can do
requests
whatever
it,
they want,
they can
right?
put it wherever they want.
So it's not like adding it is gonna give people the idea. Adding it and all these restrictions, make sure that we're not gonna have the
I'm
terrible
gonna venture to
noise.
say you're gonna shove it into the industrial zone. 'Cause that's really an appropriate place for it. And you're gonna put it in the industrial zone and say, if they come, there's nothing we can do. It's in the industrial zone, that's the most appropriate place for it. Okay?
And these are all the restrictions around it to protect residents against the noise and the whatever.
They use a lot of water
It's-
too to cool
The
things
noise
down.
and the water, yeah, I
So-
saw that in,
Do you know of any townships that actually
Have one, sure they
control water usage?
No, because Pennsylvania doesn't control waterways.
I know that, but I'm not sure.
they do a feasibility study, they require that.
You require a feasibility study and then you see what it says. Chances are they'll come here and they'll say, hey, we need this, and then we're gonna say, well, yeah, you're pumping out so much more than that. That's one issue of being a state that has water.
Well, we have water, but Adams County, as I understand it, our groundwater originates in Adams County. It doesn't flow here, it starts here. And even though there's an abundance, well, I guess it depends where you live, because I've talked to people that have a hard time getting water out of their wells. But other people, they don't, it's all in the geology. But the other piece that's sort of tied to that, I'm just wondering if our overall ordinance has any holes in it that would,
Your
be
ordinance.
capitalized by somebody doing huge development, which there's one hanging out there in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, the warm old one?
Yeah, but
Well-
the same kind of issue, if there's another group that came in with that kind of proposal, do we need to have extra stuff in our ordinance about putting boundaries around how that can be done?
About large developments.
Yes.
When Warmold came, whatever, probably, 20 years ago now,
2003.
yes, everybody, our zoning, our saldo was revised to be proactive and account for all of the concerns that a big development like Warmold brought up. So it's not a bad idea to look at things after so long, but we should have a pretty strong one that is designed to protect us from that kind of big development, since it kicked us in the butt with Warmold. Basically,
Well,
there
that was
wasn't.
my question.
Now,
Yeah.
keep in mind, the reality is, a Warmole Part 2 can show up and it'll look just like Warmole.
But
I mean,
our
the
ordinance
whole
is different
thing,
now
though,
than it
right.
was then. It's
But
not
the whole thing was,
willy-nilly.
with Warmole is they are going to build a treatment plant.
Yes.
Right now you don't have one, so it's just one lot subdivisions, you have crappy soils generally speaking in
Pretty much.
Liberty Township. So you can only get so much development.
Right.
I'm not just being realistic. But if anybody wants to do a treatment facility, you can end up with Warmole is proposing, has proposed, whatever, the past, like we all said, 20 years. We're all gonna be dead before that first house is built, if it ever gets built.
But the issue is they came in and our ordinances didn't
Yeah,
really
no.
protect against all of that.
Well, and that's all I'm asking.
And in the meantime, people revised and really looked at ordinances, so, I mean, yes, a big development can come in, but we should be in pretty good
Well,
shape
you
as
feel
far
we're
as
in
not
good shape.
having it go crazy.
So you're suggesting double checking and taking
But
things up?
Yeah.
I'm just asking, I haven't gone in, but if something like that came up,
Yeah.
we feel like we're in good shape.
Yeah, I think that's a major overhaul of your entire ordinance. Once you're gonna start really looking into all that stuff. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Everybody recommends you do it every 10 years.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. So it's been more than 10 years.
I'm not entirely sure my discussions with supervisors and all that they're ready for that.
I know,
Maybe they
I know.
are, I don't know. But I think you have a couple really hot topic items that you could probably get them to jump on
How
board
about
with.
warehouses?
All
Uh,
types, yeah.
Again, you're sort of protected, but I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to like look at them. You know, I think you already have warehouses in there. You know, I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to relook at them. But they like being up by major highways, and
Right.
you don't have them.
Go through Emmitsburg.
Let Emmitsburg worry about it.
How close to 15 are we?
We're close to 15, but there's no good roads between
There's no
the
good
15.
road.
Right.
It's just isn't quite there, is it? No, I think those huge things you see along 81, we're pretty safe in there.
That's right, 'cause they're right on 81. They can get right up onto that highway and move. Dillsburg's getting hit hard with them.
Yes.
Oh,
But-
wow.
Look where Dillsburg is. They're right outside of Harrisburg. We're at 81. They're right along 30. And Dillsburg's getting hit hard with them. I mean, you know, they built a couple. They had a couple more in the works that are being built. You just don't. Maybe up on 16, but again, you're gonna have to go to Emmitsburg and go through town and stuff. That's not ideal for those type of things. They don't want that. They want 20 feet on the highway and go.
Is there anything in the ordinance at all about that?
I think we have stuff in there about warehouses. In the past, warehouses were just what they were called, warehouses. It was like a barn. Now we're getting these crazy things that are 100, 200 bays where you're like, what is this? You know, we call them mega warehouses, but
It's still a
ultimately
warehouse.
it's still just a warehouse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could relook at it. I'm not sure what more,
Well,
you know, but I mean, we could relook at it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. There is part of me that says you're safe for now. You never know what's gonna happen in the future. You just don't have the road access to it. But you are close enough to 15. It's weird. You're close enough, but the 18-foot, the 15-foot wide road isn't what they want. You know, to get to 15.
so at least for right now, I'll suggest that we believe there should be some effort put into reviewing, updating the solar and addressing data centers.
And along with data centers, whether there's mining, there's Bitcoin mining things.
Is that included
Data
in
center,
that?
it's
A data center, that would be a data
Would
center.
that would be a data
that
center?
would be.
Okay.
They've been calling them data center / battery storage centers, I think.
And that covers the Bitcoin.
And that sort of covers.
Okay, that's what I
That's
thought.
the
but
generic covering of.
Okay,
all
just
that
double
stuff.
checking.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it so? I feel like
That's
an old
another one
person
that has that
sometimes.
constant.
Well, when a company's buying an entire nuclear power plant
Yeah.
to generate its electricity needs, something's, yeah.
Let's put it this way, I've been in court as a zoning officer this past year. And I just denied them their second permit. The guy built a 10 by 10 shed. And now he wants to put his servers into there. And to run his servers, he needs 275 solar panels. And he only needs 30 to power his house. Now, so far I keep winning. We keep trying to change the zoning ordinance to really like put a kibosh to something like that. But if you want to understand like the power that they need,
Yeah,
you know, when you're just, some of you just have solar panel, maybe you don't, but you know,
I do.
think about how many solar panels you have for your house, and now he needed 30 for his house, he needs 275 to run his 10 by 10 shed because it has servers in it. That's a lot
restrict them in our township, but I mean, as far as, is that a smart thing to do?
Well, the
Hog
other
up that
thing,
much electricity?
the other thing was actually,
But-
of course, if they built a big data center, they put the infrastructure in, but I don't think currently we have the internet
Yeah. And again,
infrastructure.
you need all
for-
that
I
as
mean,
well.
But the word is currently, I mean, things
Currently.
changing so
Well,
quickly.
You'd have to figure out where you would access the biggest point where you could actually have a lot of data transfer in between them, but.
But the noise, the heat, I mean, again, just thinking from our rural
Mm.
character,
Yeah.
I want our residents protected.
So, I don't wanna drag this on too long.
Yeah,
So, are
so-
we, I don't know if we need a formal motion, but I was gonna send something to the supervisors,
Sounds good.
to review those.
I'll just make a note.
I'll probably talk to Wendy first,
Yeah.
see if she does.
I mean, should we,
And then I'll ask for clarification about the original,
the short-term rentals, like what they
yeah,
want
the
us-
original memo was like,
Yeah.
are we done with this?
So for the data center and battery energy storage system, I guess have we all looked at that Strabane Township amendment? Or do we really wanna discuss any changes to it?
I would wait and get,
I would
See
wait
if
and
they-
see
see
what.
what the
Okay.
board says.
Okay, cause I mean, we're not gonna write an ordinance, but I've looked
No,
at it,
right.
let's pass, okay.
No, and all these things, we're not trying to create
Right.
new things, we're just trying to
Right,
find what the best stuff out there is and adapt.
Goodness, all the time, yes.
okay, so we adjourn, or, I make a motion to adjourn. Did we do that yet?
Okay, there's-
Second, who, does it, you need a second there?
Sure,
I
yeah.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
okay. Well,
Well, thank you all.
we will have a plan next month, so
Okay,
it'll be a very simple, easy plan. I've actually already, tomorrow I'll probably send out my review letter. And if I'm right, he'll probably make the changes and I'll probably have a second review letter done by next month. It's a 20-acre piece of parcel right up here. The one with the two big barns on, and the house it's for sale on Topper here.
yeah,
That actually crosses the street, 12 acres and 12 acres, and he's cutting it right along the road.
oh,
So,
wait, it's not Jeff Grant's place. You're talking-
no.
He doesn't own
No.
barns.
There's two,
Right,
there's
it's
two
little-
buildings that look like they're.
Buildings,
all down.
okay, yeah, I shouldn't,
Yeah.
They
yeah.
look
The Howard Hanna sign's up there.
Okay.
So, it's one big property that's split by the road. They're gonna now subdivide it in half. They're not trying to build nothing or anything. It's gonna be, in my opinion, it's already pretty simple. I saw the sign up there when I was coming here, the house is for sale, but I don't see a sign on so I guess the guy's gonna keep those storage, I don't know what kind of buildings they are. I said barns, they're really not barns, they're buildings.
Where's this at?
Just right up the road here.
You're not talking about the old turkey farm though? No.
Maybe it is, I don't know.
Oh,
I know I did
okay.
soil testing out there and they're all failed, it's all junk, it's all wetlands practically. Even though it's not, it's just,
Yeah,
but
okay.
we'll be doing that one next month.
What I don't understand basically is how it got accepted for review. Because Wendy asked me about that, and
You know what?
she was gonna have the supervisors do it at the next meeting.
Yeah, see, he sent me copies and all, and then I jumped the gun, I started reviewing it. And then I know, then she sent me an email that said they're gonna accept it October 1st. And I'm like, ugh, I sort of already had this done.
Well, the fact your review's done, it's fine, but,
It is, but that's
but
the
it's
issue.
gotta go to county too.
They sent in I mean, cause Wendy gave me a copy of the letter that said, hey, we get,
But
Tell
then you're
county.
talking with Wendy,
yeah.
if they filed,
So
it
you're
at the supervisor's group that review
Sally
of
Susan was saying how this is.
our meeting.
Oh,
We went
good.
ahead.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm just saying,
It's
it's
nice to see you.
my competition.
I don't know, but I've got to jump on a plane tomorrow and go to England for a month, so. And I have
Yeah, 'cause he'll already signed a non-building waiver. 'Cause he thought it was gonna happen
Oh,
this month.
well, I was
And he's on vacation, he's like, here's the signing dates, so, you know, there's no holdup.